Good afternoon. I hope everybody's enjoying themselves today. Okay, in today's video, we're going to be transitioning over from the male skeletal structure from the last video. If you didn't see that and you're seeing this one, the link to that will be in the description below. Today, we're going to be doing the woman's skeletal structure. I wanted to do that separately because this one is going to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say complex, but it has a little bit more parts to it in the sections from the head, neck, chest area, then the stomach area, and then the middle section. But we're going to be getting into that now. The next video afterwards, I will mention what we're going to be doing for that next. Well, I wouldn't even say next. Well, at the end of this video, I'm going to mention that. But let's get into this. Let's see what I'm going to draw with here. I think I'm going to draw with the graphite pencil. Okay, so it's going to be pretty simple. It's going to start off exactly kind of like the way we started with the man's face, excuse me, body. Sorry. So we're going to start it off like this. Well, we're going to start it off with a head. Now, if you're drawing on pencil and paper, which you should always start off with light tone. Basically, don't apply too much pressure. The reason I'm doing this is because this is perfect for me to work with. For you, on the other hand, you can change the pressure on basically on how hard you use your pencil and how light you use your pencil, and that changes the shade that you put out on it. It's important that you throw a light shade of some sort onto any drawing that you're doing. That way, it's easy to transition from guidelines to more structured lines. Okay, so we've got their head and the neck, and then we're going to go down to the shoulder section here. Now, the difference between the woman's shoulder, we're going to put a curve into this too. I like to, every time I do this, I like to put a curve into it. It helps into that. For the woman's shoulder section, we're not going to do it wide, obviously, because women have short shoulders while men have wide shoulders and shorter hips on men and wider hips on women. It's kind of like the reverse for their hips and shoulder width. So we got our section here, and this is where the chest is going to be, just like how we did in the last one. And except in this case, we're going to draw another section here. Now, where this particular section is more of a rib section, and it's basically where the rib section, where her ribs are going to go, or at least the upper top half of that. That would pretty much kind of look like this. I'm going to put this in here as a real quick example. You know, the bottom of the rib cage. This up here would be being the top of the rib cage, and then you got your ribs and whatever. That would be your rib cage. That would be the section that this is the section in which this little box here is going to be holding in the bottom rib cage part. You don't need to draw that in. We're not focusing on that right now. Just going to erase that real quick. So now we got that. We're going to do our thing here. Come down with this cylinder here. And that's going to be the spine section, just like last time. Do I want to leave it this short? I think we can make it a little bit longer. Not too long. We don't want the torso to be too long here. Erase that real quick. Wait, hold on. Okay. Next, we're going to work on the hip section here. And I'm going to have to, obviously, I'm always drawing really big on this. That's kind of force of habit. I'm just going to shrink it down and squeeze it in here so you guys can, so we can do the whole thing so I don't have to transition. Or that, I'll just make the canvas bigger instead. So we're going to take that and we're going to come out here a little bit. Your hips kind of want to come out a little bit more than your shoulders to convey that it's actually a woman. So I would say when you're doing that, it will be easy to start from like here in a sense and kind of like draw a little guideline real quick out to here to make sure it comes out as far as you want it to go. You don't want to make the hips too big. I mean, you can, but in doing that, we have to make the rest of the body anatomically correct to fit the figure. It's always important that you make a body anatomically correct to fit whatever figure you're doing. That's the one thing I am a stickler for, is how anatomically correct certain things are. You can in fact have your own super unique style that's completely different, but your style has to be anatomically correct to what you're drawing. So like, how do I put it? Anime would be one of the examples that I could probably put down here for how they do theirs. As you know, anime isn't exactly anatomically correct, but it's anatomically correct for the style that they're going with. So they work around in that specific area of how they're doing things. Let's see here. Okay, change canvas size. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change my canvas's size here. I'm just going to stretch it down real quick to fit that in. Okay, there we go. So now we got this section. Now, what this is these are all just guide areas, okay? These aren't exact areas and where everything's going to go, because these are meant to be essentially placeholders for the time being for where certain parts are going to go. Not everything is going to go exactly over the boxes or in the boxes and different stuff like that. They're just going to go, they're just placeholders for, you know, for what we're trying to fit or put around it. So we're going to work here on these thighs, this thigh section right here. We'll come down. We're going to do circles this time for the knees. And we're going to leave, we're going to come back up to here, but first we're going to finish down here first. And I still didn't make it big enough. Okay, that'll work. I'll shrink it later to fit in something. Okay. So as we go back to here, we're going to come out about right here. Now the reason why it comes out this way is because these are calves. You know, these are the sides for the calves. Now my particular style is very different from, or at least my build, my skeleton style is a little bit different from what you would see in a book, because I like to mix a little bit of everything into it. It makes everything a lot easier, so you don't have to actually pick it up on your own for later. You can just, which basically I'm teaching you everything like right in here. So we got that going down here for these ankles, and then what I like to do is I like to put circles here on the edge of where the ankles would be, right meeting to the foot. These are the balls of your ankles. If you look down and look at your ankles, you can actually see the balls of your ankles sticking out. And draw that, draw like this. Now, the reason why we draw, at least I draw skeletal feet like that, is because you never know what you're going to be drawing, right? So it could be toes, it could just be shoes, it could be open-toed shoes, could be heels. So you want to keep these kind of like out like this, because it doesn't matter exactly how we're doing everything. It'll matter later on when you decide to do full things and put clothes on it. Okay, so we're gonna come back up here, and just like last time, we're gonna draw a we're gonna come out a little bit here on the side. Now it's not gonna be as thick per se. You know what? I'm gonna make it a little bit easier. We're gonna do circles draw some cylinders here, placeholder for the shoulders. And we're going to do the arms. Now the arms aren't going to be as thick as it was on the man. Remember, a woman's body parts are way more slender than a man's. So we got to be a little bit more conservative on how much of this we're putting on here. Now, depending on the body type that you're using, you might put more muscle on that. So if you're drawing like a warrior woman, kind of like an Amazon, like Wonder Woman, you put more robustness on the skeletal structure to that. It makes it a whole lot easier. That's if you're using a full skeletal structure to start off something. You don't necessarily need to. I don't do it when I started a specific type of picture. Let's see. Okay, so we got that. So we're going to draw some more balls here. Like again, we're going to come down here. We're going to add on to here. And that's going to come down to the bottom of the forearm. It's going to stop right here. Now, I normally could make it longer. Now remember, this is the skeletal stage. Now, skeletal stages, the good thing about them is, excuse me, the good thing about them is it is a free stage. So whatever you're doing there, you can just add on to more, like how I just added more here. So I'm just going to add more here. In that case, you would take off. If something was too long on something, you would just take off from that, or you would add more to whatever it is. Next, we're going to draw like ovals, and that's going to be the wrist joints. Come out here. It's going to be hands. All right. And there we got the basic beginning section of that. Now, the thing that we're missing here is the chest. Now, I'm going to zoom in here. You don't need to zoom in. Well, excuse me. You wouldn't need to zoom in, obviously, drawing this on by hand. So we're going to draw the chest area and the breasts. And I'm going to draw, I don't want to put this. Now, scenario, depending on the size of the breasts, it conveys on like different guidelines you put it in here. Sometimes, me personally, I do half sections here. I will come in here and just do like that but I'm going to show you while we're in this stage. I'm going to show you the usual stages. You add that in there, or sometimes, let me see. I add this in normally when I do my skeletons. Sometimes people do other things like they'll make it circles, right? They'll just throw circles. Or they'll do like a teardrop-esque look to it for the basis for it. But it all depends on chest size and all of this stuff. And let's see. Yeah, that's about average size, I guess. And so I'm just gonna throw in the way that I usually do it, like that. Okay. So we got that. We got that in there. So we got that in there. And now what we can do here is we're going to do exactly like we did last time. And we're just going to draw over this. Give me a second here and let me change the canvas size for me. Okay. Give a second here. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to my section here. I'm going to make a new layer for me. Go over here and I'm just going to dull this down a little bit so I can see. Okay, So as we're drawing on this, let me change the pencil actually. Let me get that one. Okay, so as we're drawing on this, this should be relatively light for you already. So you wouldn't. So I just wanted to make it a little bit easier for me to see. Okay, so we're gonna do exactly what we did last time. Here we're gonna start with our neck. Start with our neck section. We're gonna go on our sides here, add some neck muscles here. We don't want to make them too defined. Again, this is a woman's body. Um, Again, like I said before, depending on the body type you're working with, then you change the muscles. But since this is just a regular body type, that's what I'm doing. I'm just putting regular muscles on here. I'm not doing exaggerated muscles or anything like that. We more than likely are going to be going to go into different kinds of muscle types. You should at least see the different kind of muscle types from characters like Catwoman, Wonder Woman, other characters like Spider-Man. Then you got the Hulk, then Batman, then Superman. All of them, probably aside from Spider-Man. Spider-Man's body type is probably the most realistic one out of that bunch, because Superman, for example, Superman and Batman, they have really defined muscles that you couldn't technically replicate in a real world scenario on a body. See, okay, so I'm gonna go down here into these sections here. That's under the arm. We're just gonna add that in real quick. Now I put this line here because that's one of the ways a woman's breasts connects to the side of her arm through that way. Put that in there. Okay. Gonna move over here. Get the arms going here. Now, in certain cases, I do, in fact, make the forearm a little too long. It looks like I made the forearm a little too long in this area, but that's fine as long as you make everything fit correctly to the body type. I had problems with that years ago when I was really learning bodies, but the bright side of it is that I ended up figuring out that I can make my parts fit the body better. Like if I messed up with an arm, okay, I would just, and I didn't have the time or want to erase it and try to fix the entire thing. I would just fit the body to the rest of it, and that's what I ended up learning here. So we're gonna go ahead and finish up these arms. Okay, we're gonna go over here into this section here. Now we're gonna finish this in a second. We're gonna finish these hands in a second, but I want to get this. I want to get this out of the way first. So this is gonna come in like that, just like how I told you, but it's gonna come in like that. That's the rib section. This is the rib section we were talking about just now, right? It's gonna come down here. It's gonna go out into the hips. Now, like I said before, these don't necessarily need to fit exactly into the area in which you're trying. Like as you can see right here, this goes out a little bit more than this does, and we can fix that. And if we start up about right here, bring it up a little bit from here to here. Now, professional artists do this all the time to where their skeletal structure does not exactly fit the line work that they're making. They just add more as they, well, not add more, they just adjust as they go to the skeletal structure, and that's what we're doing here. We're just adjusting to the skeletal structure as we go. Just go here, section, head off. Come down, everything connects here. Okay. Now, what I'm gonna do after we advance from the skeletal structures, when we start working on like full-on pictures, I'm gonna teach you guys how to make clean lines. Now, the logic of clean lines pretty much transfers over from like traditional to digital. The same principle of clean lines kind of falls over to that as well. The reason why digital is a little bit important, or at least very important, is because in the industry, as the industry stands now, they're all digital when it comes to line work and different stuff like that. There are some comic companies that do their stuff traditional, but the big dogs like Marvel, DC, and Image, that's all digital. Like they'll draw their panels or whatever by paper, by hand, and they'll do it that way. But when it comes to the final product, like the final product, when they're drawing everything and they're putting that color in there and they're doing all that effects and different stuff like that that you see that pops out, that's all on the computer. Okay. From the thunderbolts that they make with these characters, from like laser beams and all these crazy lines and all that other stuff, you like wow, and you trying to recreate by hand. Yeah, that's all digital. It's all computer. And before we get out of here, I'm probably going to show you one of my tools I just got here. And we're just going to these hands aren't going to be like too superficial here. These are the type of hands that I draw every time for skeletal stuff and practice stuff. Sideways hands, they're not hard to draw or anything like that. You know, fingers and stuff get annoying from time to time, and you want to get this down as quickly as possible and as clean as possible to convey whatever it is that you're trying to do for your character design or whatever skeletal structure that you're practicing with and all kinds of stuff like that. And normally when I do this stuff, I'm doing it through the mirror tool. Now, if you don't know what a mirror tool is, I explained it before. At least I explained a part of it before, but I was probably vague about it because, again, we're not working on, at least I don't know if anybody's working on a digital art setup. And even if you were, you're probably not working on the same program that I'm working on. I'm just going to draw this head and put this head in here. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to back up some. Now the next one after this is we're going to work on faces, so we can make the features of the face and different stuff like that. Give me a second here. Okay, I'm going to back out, come down here. Okay, so we got a V section here, hips. These are technically where the hips would go. Circle, this is like belly button area. Now, the reason why I personally don't use these is because there's so much stuff you miss out of it, putting it together, different things like that. I'll put the recaps in here. Okay, so we pretty much got that, and we pretty much, this will be a rough setup here. Let me hide this. This would basically be like something similar to like a rough setup to that. Again, we get the basic idea of putting a skeleton together and using it to practice where all these parts go, right? So the purpose of it is you're practicing where your parts should at least go. Very important that you focus on that and practice that in particular, because that's exactly how you hone It's how you hone your skills. And fun fact, this is pretty much cheating at this point right here, because I can just shrink it, pull it, and different stuff like that. And that's why learning. That's why in the future, if you have the opportunity to, learning digital is very, very important. I know everybody can't afford it. Um, my personal setup is actually pretty expensive for 3 components. Those 3 components is basically what I can do to use this stuff. If you wanted to get something like this, um, digital art tablets, there's 2 different kinds. There's a tablet and there's a display, right? The displays are the screens. They project what's on the computer onto your lap, and you look up at it and you draw. The tablets, you look at the screen and you draw on the tablet. So what you draw on the tablet, you see on the screen, and you're looking at it back and forth like that. I had one of those. I didn't like it, so I switched over to displays, and that's my preference. When it comes to this stuff and you're looking for equipment, it's all your preference. So the money that you spend is your preference of how much you're trying to get out of this. If you're just starting and you're just learning digital art, I don't recommend you spend a bunch of money on your very first setup. So be mindful of it. Do your research on the equipment and different stuff like that.